Welcome to the Wrap-Up, a VR live stream focused on keeping you up to date with the adoption of universal profiles and growth of the new creative economy. Join us as we uncover the fusion of technology, artistry, and innovation that's redefining how we create, share, and experience in this digital age. It's time to wrap it up. Welcome back, everybody, to the Wrap-Up. Today's November 10th, 2023. And before we dive into today's show, take a minute and click that like button and maybe even smash the subscribe button if you haven't already. It helps a ton and ensures that you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. Alts, how's it?
It's great, man. It's great. Yeah, if you actually jump up in the air and then come down when you smash, it just adds a little extra to it, right? But yeah, no, doing good, my guy. Hope the fam out there is having a great start to their Friday, the early weekend. And yeah, man, I'm ready to chat about what's up.
Yeah, there's a lot that's going up right now. I'll tell you that. There's something I think it's called Universe Profiles.
Sounds familiar, vaguely.
And maybe we'll talk about that in a second. But first, some words from our friends and sponsors over at LEEQUID. LEEQUID is a liquid staking solution purposely built for the LUKSO blockchain. Users can stake LYX tokens and in return, earn receipt SLYX tokens redeemable one-to-one for the deposited LYX. LEEQUID notably offers flexibility, allowing users to opt in or out of staking at any moment via the protocol's liquidity pool. This feature removes the potentially extensive wait times typically associated with traditional staking methods. With the support of advisors and multi-signatories from the LUKSO team, LEEQUID is steadfast in its commitment to achieving decentralization from the beginning, underlining transparency and trust. Following a thorough audit by consensus, LEEQUID is set to launch in October, integrating suggestions to ensure a seamless and secure user experience. Don't forget to follow LEEQUID on Twitter to stay updated on opportunities for earning passive rewards and contributing to the security of the LUKSO blockchain. LEEQUID is a liquid staking solution purposely built. I thought Rob was going to give that to us a second time today.
That's a 2-for-1 special there.
Yep, 2-for-1 special. All right, top stories this week. The mainnet universal profile extension launches. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Oh, did you ever see the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly?
Yes, I have a few times. I love me some good old spaghetti westerns back in the day.
Spaghetti westerns. Well, in this case here, Fabian, he is a mysterious developer, right? And he's got a team up with a band of metaverse outlaws, the community. And Rob, it's okay if you want to cringe in the background because I like this story.
The dev with no name.
Oh God. In truth, though, there's a lot of good. There is some bad, and then there's the ugly. And before you jump off a cliff here and say, "Oh my God, like what are these guys going to talk about?" We're just framing this discussion in this idea of, regardless of what happens at the beginning, we all are going to work together by the end, and that's kind of the arc of the movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, right, Alts?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great film if you haven't seen it, but it's kind of about everybody from all different angles coming together for the greater common vision, right?
Yeah. Sage says, "Why is it a spaghetti western?"
Because they were shot in Italy.
Are they really?
Yeah. There was a whole swath of westerns that it was a lot cheaper at that time to go out in Italy and shoot there. Like Sergio Leone was an Italian director that directed a lot of those. But it's a great little. That's why they have their own little vibe and kind of feel to them.
All right, and that's the information you needed from today's wrap up. We'll see you all next week as Alts gives more film knowledge. Good. I didn't know that. That's crazy. Okay, let's get to the good. First off, first tweet of the day. Universal profiles are now live on LUKSO mainnet. Woo! Learn more about the transformative shift universal profiles will have on shaping the next frontier of human interaction on chain in the article below that is linked on the Medium, and you can create your own profile at my.universalprofile.cloud. Alts. Woo! Thoughts?
Man, it's a bit surreal, right? It's exciting times. Like we've been looking forward to this for so long now. Obviously it's not the finish line. It's more just like the main gates being opened, right? Where we kind of start to move into this next step up, right? And kind of get to see the infrastructure for like the future of Web3 being, to begin to start being really truly built on these rails that Luxo has given us. And kind of they've given us the tools, right? To kind of just to take off and kind of see what we can build. So it's a huge milestone. The road to mass adoption, like it said, it's step by step, right? Just one thing after another. As you like to say, stringing pearls. This is a really big pearl to add to the string. And the road is not void of bumps, of course, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what we're talking about. But for sure, but like I think we're all definitely headed straight into the future with this road that we're on.
Agreed, my friend. Agreed. Have we had many ups made at this point in time?
And so far, last I checked, there was about 1,200 universal profiles already made, and we're just like a couple of days in. So I'd say that's a pretty good amount already. For as under the radar as this project is. So congrats and kudos to the fam who's already made one. Actually, you know what? Let's we got a little segment here called Community Close Up. Let's take a look at some ups. First one, we've got Nero Hub. Shout out Nero. Great dude. So yeah, big ups to Luxo, Marjorie, Vendora, the entire team and community. Universal profiles secured. Got a little brain emoji. He has that one on lockdown. Had to deck it out with the Sapiens, of course. Shout out Jeff Staples, Stapleverse. Beautiful art. Love to see that on that up there. That's great.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm a big fan of Neuro in general as a human being. And I think the theme you'll get while as we showcase a few of these ups here at the beginning of the show is your universal profile is going to take on your personality. So you should make this thing your own. The next one we actually have is from Elixir. Look at that lion.
Epic, epic. Yeah, he says, created my universal profile. Thank you again to the team over at Luxo and the founders. The future of Web3 begins today, right? This is what we're talking about, right? The future has begun, right? It's not instantaneous, right? But it's a process and we're headed in the right direction. But I love that you kind of hinted on, making these profiles your own because this is something completely different that has not existed before, right? You can make an OpenSea profile, put your little PFP and your banner and stuff, but like you don't own that stuff. You don't control that, right? They could delete your account, do whatever they want with it. But these are decentralized autonomous accounts that you own and control. So you get to shape your actual, on-chain online identity. So yeah, it's a great start. Actually, we got another one here from the OG AI legend Mints. Universal profiles live on mainnet. No doubt that I expected some amazing art. I love that background there.
Yeah, it's Vince, you knew for a fact, was going to make sure that his profile had a good deal of pink flavor. And obviously, Vince has been doing this for a while. We've been featuring a lot of Vince's artwork in the Pinkest Tweet. We won't actually have the Pinkest Tweet today. So just know we're putting a lot of this stuff up front because a little later on, we're going to get more serious in conversation. But looking at that extension, the browser extension that's in front of you there, the universal profile created by Mint, you can see it's profile, not a wallet. If you want to go to the wallet, you got to click the little wallet there, the icon that's up at the top. And that icon is going to be something that you are probably going to be able to swap out different wallets if you have a wallet of preference. And that's what makes these things so flexible. So this is kind of like your home base, and you'll be able to do a lot from this extension. But the art itself, gorgeous.
Yeah, indeed. Speaking of more gorgeous art, we got one from Huge Day for Luxo Gang. We got another clone there. Lovely. Universal profiles are here. Have you grabbed your username yet, Anon? So I believe these are just the usernames, right? Like you're not securing your ENS like style LNS yet, right? This is just your profile name at this time. But yeah, it's gonna be such a future flex to have created a profile on day zero. Indeed.
Yeah, this is yeah. Don't be confused. This is not like a Luxo name service. And if you need an analog, think of it as the Ethereum name service. That is going to be your singular identity. Um, this is a public profile that you are going to customize, make it look like you. I can actually search for Fawn if I wanted to in the wallet to try to send her funds, but someone else could absolutely create another Fawn. They, it, this is something that we have to be aware of, right? Um, this is not meant to be this like persistent, you've grabbed fawn, no one else can ever have fawn. There, your identity is going to be based upon your transaction history, And then at some point we can add another layer of identity onto it with a name service. So I think that that's a good that's like a something good to distinguish right at the outset so people don't get confused, right?
I was cracking up. I was imagining somebody kidnapping Fawn. They said, "You're gonna grab Fawn, and nobody else can have Fawn." But yeah, that's a great distinction. And I love that you hinted at the concept of, yeah, you can actually go in. Like I said, you're not really going to want to do this unless you can verify that it's the proper one until we have those LNS. But you can just go into the search and just type in a name. It'll pull up their profile, and you could send them funds or NFT or whatever without having to pull up their address. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, it's actually wicked cool. So, big step forward, profiles over wallets.
Indeed. Next up, we got one from the KEEZ DAO account. Up, beautiful. That's got a little teaser there from inside the pink pill ship.
Mm, yeah, you knew Keys was going to, again, with our love of solid digital art, was going to make sure that it's a beautiful and well branded profile. Um, so that we've got Keys right there. I think the last one we have is from MB Crypto, and the reason this one was selected because you see that they didn't actually put a banner behind it, and maybe that was an aesthetic choice. But what I really liked was the message at the top. I'll be telling my kids about this day 10 years from now and how I was one of the first 500 people to ever create a universal profile with LUKSO. What a time to be alive. Fellow LUKSO holders, let's connect. Also, I mean, imagine that 10 years from now, how many universal profiles will most likely be out there because we believe in this, right? So I'll project out that far to be one of the first people to ever have a profile. That's quite the claim, right? Quite the rep claim.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love that. And that's kind of what it's about, right? Is this long-term vision of imagining these universal profiles really truly changing the space and ushering in the actual mass adoption that we've all been craving in the space for so long. So if these new standards kind of take the shackles off for the average user, for one, makes it way easier for them to use blockchain. In some cases, they don't even need to know they're using blockchain, right? So we can onboard a whole lot more people that way. But it also gives them new reasons to actually use the tech, right? It's not the same go trade a token, go trade an NFT. You're just flipping things for money. Like, no, we're going to give them things like social interactions on chain, right? Like new and innovative use cases to invite people in. So yeah, if you imagine kind of that adoption curve, yeah, I mean, you could be talking. I mean, we're a couple of days in, we're talking about 1,200 or however many. I already forgot, but very few, right, in the grand scheme of things. So it feels good to be early. And if you're thinking about, yeah, hundreds of thousands and millions, billions at some point that have made a universal profile. I mean, that's going to be pretty special, to be one of some people in this first wave, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'm happy to be one of those people.
Same.
Finally, happy to be one of those people because it wasn't smooth, right? And that kind of brings us to maybe the next section of our show today, right? Because our show is a little bit different than our traditional wrap up. We thought it was really important to go through how this launch rolled out, what community sentiment is, and then also I think, some really important messaging that needs to come and get to everybody from the team. This first part is, I think, a message from the community back to the team, right, Alts?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's kind of nice to when we have these big milestones to kind of collect our thoughts from the community side and kind of coalesce the energy and kind of figure out how everyone feels and kind of understand how things happen in real time, right? Keep learning and growing and continue to improve things as we move forward.
Yeah, we're not journalists, right? We're not we're not the Block, we're not Cointelegraph. We're just Pink community members, really through and through, and we're out there every day on that guerrilla marketing tour that so much of the community is on, just trying to raise awareness around this uh, revolution of profiles over wallets. So that being said, I think what we're going to say now, this is about like learning how the community operates because I think sometimes unless you're grinding the community daily, you don't understand the brain of the average community member. So let's go through that. And I'm going to poke fun at myself because I acted like the basic community member, right? Even though, oh God, not proud of it, but it's funny. All right.
Yeah, I mean, no one's immune to the emotions of from the community side, right? When things don't work out like you hope or envision. But so we wanted to make sure that we kind of, acknowledge that, right? And it's good to, that's the thing is once we're going through any sort of bump in the road in any community, not just LUKSO, right? You kind of band together with your other fellow community members and try to figure things out, and try to help each other kind of make it through those bumpy roads, right? Because it was, I mean, for some it was a great smooth rollout, super easy. Some people ran into issues, so collectively we just try to help each other as we can.
Sure. All right, let's go to the first tweet here. That might have been the second tweet. Is that the first tweet? That's first tweet. All right. So important to understand the way that rollouts are going to happen. We knew the rollout was going to come on November 8th. That was an announcement that was made to expect universal profiles on November 8th. If you're wondering how the average community member brain works, that means if we're living on X, our notifications are on for any official account for LUKSO. And there's lots of people that have the official account notifications on. And then those notifications pop up on our watches, on our phones, on our screens, the second an account tweets. So the first thing that happened is the official account tweeted that universal profiles are live. And then it was, what is that red thing, Alts?
It was deleted, instantly deleted. But yeah, that's a good thing to note there, is because especially when we know that, there's a certain day that something's going to drop, everyone's on edge. They're sitting there waiting. They're anxious. They're checking their Twitters and their channels like every 5 seconds. So yeah, as soon as something goes live, they want to be all over it. And then this one, yeah, I guess went a little live premature maybe, and then was deleted. So definitely kind of threw a wrinkle in some people's plans.
But what it did do is it piqued the interest of everybody who had notifications on. So now everyone's waiting for the announcement. So then we get more messaging from people associated with the team. First, I mean, Mike's a great guy. He is a community lead for LUKSO, and he's got a post. I don't know how to interpret those emojis, but it looks like we're going up. And that's at 8:43. These are Eastern Standard Time tweets. So don't be concerned with the exact time as much as the chronological order of what happens here.
Yeah. That one is a bit more cryptic, but it definitely seems like, okay, cool. We're definitely on schedule to release ups, it seems. Yeah. And then next up, we had another one from Prozen here, where he says, officially, it's here. The Universal Profile Browser extension has just hit the LUKSO mainnet. Say hello to a smooth digital identity ride. And let's make some noise while getting the digital in style. And it's got the link there to the profiles. And that was at 8:01, or actually, 8:01 or 9:01.
Yeah.
9:01 Eastern.
Yeah, just again, the exact time doesn't much matter. What matters
Right.
is just the chronology
The
of the
order,
tweets.
right? Yeah.
So when this tweet hits, people have notifications on. What do you think we all did, Alts?
Went to try to make one.
Piled in. I mean, we couldn't have clicked those buttons fast enough. For a person like myself that's been waiting for this moment for multiple years, my fingers were on fire with how fast I was clicking buttons. And having created testnet versions of the universal profiles, I knew what I was getting into. It wasn't like there was this new experience,
Right.
but for some of us, being early, being to create one of the first profiles was like this really cool thing, that like a feather that we wanted. Maybe it was an ego game. I don't know. And in hindsight, I can look at it and say that. Because let's put it this way, at 9:01, if you went to create a profile, it did not go smoothly, most likely for you. Yeah, without getting into the exact specifics of what happened, there are just a few issues that came up. We finally get a tweet over an hour later from the ERC725 account that says we're up and we're live. It's effectively the same tweet that Prozen had sent out an hour earlier and a clone of the one that was deleted, but now we're live. In the previous hour and almost 15 minutes, everyone was losing their mind and probably blowing up the dev chats on Discord and direct messaging of anyone they could get a message to that it's not working cleanly. It's not working as smoothly as we anticipated. Again, there's a full hour of meltdown.
Well, I think because people, when they're this excited and hyped to try something out, if it doesn't work out for them immediately, like they kind of go into panic mode pretty quickly, because like you don't want to be the one left on the sidelines when everybody else is doing something, right?
Yeah. So the next message we get is actually from the LUKSO account, the formal LUKSO account, and that's at 10:29. So that's 7 minutes after the 725 account. And that's the announcement of the Medium article, which is great. So if you're not following this super tight, like this all makes sense. It happens in pretty much like if you weren't running to create your profile right away, all of this is pretty smooth, right? It's messaging. It's happening in a orderly fashion. What if you're what how you experience it if you were someone who was like really watching this tightly, this rollout, this launch, is that Medium article was up for multiple hours before it was actually announced on the LUKSO site. Um, and people found it and were circulating it on back channels in the community trying to go get it, right?
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
I think added to the anxiety of if anything went wrong for anyone, there was like this doom moment where people are like, "Oh my god, this is not working appropriately. What are we all into? How is this possible that this thing we believe in is just falling apart in front of our eyes?" Right? And maybe you didn't feel that way, but as people who have our ears to the ground in the community, trust me, that sentiment was out there.
yeah. I mean, my personally myself, I was actually super busy. I didn't even get a chance to create one. I didn't even get home until like 7 p.m. So I was trying to follow as close as I could, on my channels. But yeah, by the time I got home and created one, I mean, no problems at all. Went super smooth. I hopped right in, no issues. But yeah, I mean, if I didn't have that thing going on, I would definitely would have been there in the trenches trying to scramble to figure it out, before everything kind of got smoothed out as well.
Yeah. So instead of highlighting all of the crazy messaging that was going on, this is a message from your pink friends, Ethalorian and Alts Anonymous, back to the team who, if you're watching this, take it for what it is because we're just a couple of avatars, but there are people who are your biggest cheerleaders, but at the same time, at time only love can make someone so irrational, right? Right, Alts?
Right, yeah. Let's actually go into Eat's emotional state, with the next few. Yeah, he said, "I can't wait to poke fun of himself tomorrow on the wrap up," and that's what we're literally doing right now. He's got himself at the fences here. The moment when Universal Profiles launch, let me in. When he has a minor problem that prevented him from making one, he loses his stuff.
Losing my mind. Now, I posted this yesterday because I said after 36 hours, I was starting to come back to an emotional center point where I could laugh at myself because I'm telling you at 9:44 a.m. Now, this is prior to the official announcement. This is between Prossen's announcement and the official announcement from the ERC 725 channel. I I mean, it's embarrassing to admit, but I was absolutely Ron Burgundy in a telephone booth, stuck in a glass case of emotion, Alts.
Well, also in these times, right? Like crypto moves so fast, like we experience so much in such a short, truncated time period during these, windows of, chaos, as it were. Like, yeah, your emotions get exponentially more impactful because it feels like the time slowed down.
Oh, and we're telling our friends that we're so proud of this project that we've been following and we believe in it so much that we've been telling our friends and our family and we've been telling people outside of this little bubble that this is coming. So who do you think they call the second anything goes sideways? They have no background in Web3. They don't understand what's going on. Your phone starts to just blow up and messaging just starts to blow up. And I just, it's a microcosm of actually working on the project and having all of those inputs. But, getting a phone call from your sister or your brother after a while, it's like, oh my God, I don't even know what to tell you. I can't even answer the phone at the moment.
Which leads
Ugh.
us into the next one, trying to chill out, trying to just
Uh,
take a breath, let things, like I said, luckily I was, or maybe luckily this time that I was busy. I was had my own level of FOMO where I'm like, gosh, I wish I could be there right now making one. This sucks that I'm having to be at this thing. But yeah, so it was really nice to, at least I had my own level of FOMO, but it's like, when those moments you just kind of need to take a beat, try to chill out, which is kind of, what we do with each, with each other in the community. We try to, I try to talk Eth off a ledge, like just to touch some grass. It'll be fine. It's probably just a little bug. It was expected to have some bugs, roll out. But I think just kind of the order of events that you went through, it probably just didn't help.
No, and again, this isn't meant to be like, wow, you guys suck. There's no part of that that I wanted to call attention to. Instead, as just like a quick um, mention to the team here, because I think it's important for the team to get feedback from the community. We're just distilling sentiment. It's important to note that even that picture, that post I made of trying to chill out, that's 24 hours later. I was still struggling to make a profile. Now, there was actually probably no bug on the team side. It was a problem I was having with my own Discord. And I finally got through it by creating a burner Discord account to verify. And it was from the actual advice of Beef Banks. He gave me a good idea. And that got me through. But that 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 spectrum of emotion, it's important to understand. We understand on the one side, the team is building something and trying to bring it to public, and that's very difficult to do,
For
right?
sure. Yeah, for
But then
sure.
there's the irrational community member side. It's like having a crazy boyfriend or girlfriend, right? Like that's what we are, right? We are
Right.
totally off the rails sometimes because we just don't have an ability to sift through this information. It's like, I don't know, it's like loving your puppy so much you hug it to death.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's
Right?
exactly it. Like, too, because there's that always that asymmetry of information, right? We only get what is distilled out to us. So, we might not have the same comfort level knowing the greater picture on a lot of things, right? Also, the community, for the most part, is not remotely as technical as the team that's building this stuff, right? So the way we experience it is a lot different. And a lot of people, it's their first time. A lot of people are new to crypto, right? Like if you've been around a long time, like there's always bumps for everything ever. Like it's fine, no big deal. And that's why you roll things out like in a certain fashion, right? And yeah, like even like what we're talking about this, like the team said it was a beta, right? It's a beta rollout, so bugs and things were to be expected. But it's important to just kind of keep those things in mind to try to, hodl those emotions long term as well.
Sure. So if you're laughing at me, if you want to make fun of me, if you see me in person, go ahead, because I was totally off the rails there for about 24 hours. But I'm back on the rails now, and I can at least say this in a constructive format. And if you're a community member listening and you're like, Alteneath, they're not being harsh enough, I don't think that that's warranted either, because I've seen some really harsh critiques. And I think some of that is also emotional, right? It's in those moments when you're emotional that sometimes you say the shit that you really don't mean. So we're going to filter that out as well. But that's kind of our message back to anybody who works on the project or a developer that's developing their own project. Just be very mindful of how the people at the end of the communication chain are receiving and perceiving the messaging, right?
Yeah, well said. And it's important for the community to also keep in mind, the other side. And we're trying to imagine, what it is, the difficulties and challenges that they have as well, right? Because at the end of the day, like we are all LUKSO fam, right? We're all LUKSO. We're all in this together, and we're just trying to. We all have the same vision. It's just about like trying to help, both sides work together in concert to get us past that next that next big milestone, right?
Yep. All right. So now the next part of this, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is there is an element here that we have to be sure to highlight. We're taking messaging from the team, and we are going to make sure that this gets out to as many people as we can get it to. And the idea behind it is this is a marathon and not a sprint. We've got to go slow to go fast, meaning there is no reason for you to send all of your life's worth, your net worth to your universal profile right now. Don't do that. Don't do that at all.
Yeah, yeah. Remember, it's a beta, right? So it's a slow rollout, and treat it as such, right? Treat it as such. And like you said, it's not a sprint, right? I think it's going to be a slow adoption curve. I think we'll be sprinting by the time things are running full steam. Yeah, we want to be able to keep up. It'll be moving so fast. But it's a slow progress into that.
Sure. So these profiles launched with a recovery that is, you could choose to back it up via email. You could use the two-factor authentication right through Google. There were options for you. But because so many people piled in early, some accounts were created, and it feels like there's there's it's not very straightforward, how to recover these accounts. People are a little bit confused as to what's going on. People might have opted out of this recovery service that the team has provided without even realizing what they were doing because they were just piling in to try to create a profile as fast as possible. So we've got this post here that says Google two-factor authentication password recovery for a blockchain-based universal profile. How cool is that? That was an option that was provided. When I eventually was able to make my profile after working through some problems, I did this. And as recently as an hour and a half ago, I tested the system out. It works. It works very well. So it's there, provided you signed up for it, right, Alts?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a good clarification. Which, when I made mine, I signed up for it as well, but because I understood, I guess, just kind of what it meant, and I like the concept of that, especially because it's a beta thing and we're not full steam yet. Yeah, I wanted that option. I think it's a great option. But remember, like Callum said, he put out a tweet as well to clarify how the up recovery system works. It's a centralized service, which has the ability to add a controller to your profile. So by opting into the recovery, you're necessarily trusting and giving it access to your profile. This is why we made it optional, which, I think, like I said, personally, I opted in for it because I feel like at this stage in time, I would love to have that as an option, to be able to back it up, to my email or to my Google account. That's super smooth and easy and kind of takes some of the stress out of it for me. Right now, obviously, at some point, as things grow out and we begin to add and store more value in those, we might want to look into other options and find ways to control that ourselves. But that, I mean, I think it's great, but I love that it's optional, right?
Yeah, some people right now, their heads are exploding, going, "Oh my God, not your keys, not your crypto. What a rug. We're being rugged." Fabian adds to Callum's statement and says, "Hey, to add to this, recovery system is recovery up, controlled by a multi-sig, including a legal custodian, and can only add new controllers and cannot do anything else to your profile." Thank you, Fabian, for that clarification. And Callum comes back in after that and says, advanced users who are concerned about any centralization, like, trusting somebody else, you should just opt out. And in the future, there will be other recovery services to choose from. So you can select the one that best fits your needs. And we actually, in the week, one of the weekly pink pills, when we did Twitter spaces, we interviewed NBR, who is doing social dot recovery, right? And that was I can trust alts and Yellow Turtle and Rob and members from KEEZ to give me access back to my universal profile if I ever lost it. And there are going to be other recovery services that are going to get even more complicated or will fit your profile, meaning you and your own tolerances for risk better. Just know
For
that
sure.
what you see today is not the end state of the product, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is literally just the first step, right? Things are going to get layered and built on top of it, but the rails are there, right? The standards are there. So yeah, we're going to see all sorts of new different recovery options, that weren't really possible anywhere else, right? So that's one of the great things. Like you mentioned, social recovery, that'll be great. And also having controllers across multiple devices. Maybe you set it up to where, you can do three of your, if you have access to three out of your four devices, you can log back in, or whatever. It's like, it's going to be customizable too. So yeah, just remember it's beta, right? It's just rolling it out. So things will definitely improve. And that's why it's important to kind of, set your expectations as such and kind of act accordingly.
Yeah, this brings us to Yaman's tweet. Giving people the choice to use easy, quote unquote, recovery services will help massively with onboarding more users to the blockchain, even if it's centralized. If users opt for a decentralized recovery system, then LSP7, one of the Lego blocks that the team talks about very frequently, that these LSPs can be snapped together like Legos to build bigger things and better things, that LSP11 social recovery is the way to go. And it's currently in the process of being finalized. If you're a developer and you want to make commentary or you want to add to the discussion on LSP11, Yaman actually links the GitHub for LSP11 in his tweet thread. Important to note again, this is profiles over wallets. It's no longer an EOA where it's very, very basic. It's a primitive technology. This is a profile that has pieces, Lego bricks that can be swapped out to improve over time. It's extensible into the future. Really, really important distinction.
Yeah, and well said. And it's like I said, go back to that string and pearls, right? We're going to be just continuing to add building blocks on top of this So it's just going to continue to get better and better. But it's just don't underestimate how amazing that, you could say low hanging fruit, right? Super easy way to recover your stuff for just the average person that doesn't know all the stuff that the average crypto person knows. They're like, oh, cool, I can use my email. Awesome, right? They love that. That's great. And maybe, as they learn more things, they have the ability to then take that control back themselves whenever they want. So that's one of the great things about having it optional.
Yeah. Build up your comfort using the profile. Wait for some DApps to come online so you can play around with it before you move your net worth onto this profile. Move on there what you're comfortable losing if something terrible happened. Now, I shouldn't have to tell that to you. That's kind of like what this entire frontier is, right? You should only play around with what you're comfortable losing because at any time something bad could happen. And that's not LUKSO related. That is blockchain related. We're dealing with new technologies. We're dealing with primitives that are being built.
Yeah,
It's
indeed. Yeah, there's no need to stick your head out further than you need to in these exploratory phases, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can't win the marathon in the first mile, but you can lose it if you go out too fast, right?
True.
That's an
True.
important
Don't go pull your hammy,
distinction.
fam.
Right.
Carb up and take your time.
Yeah, eat that spaghetti dinner ahead of time. All right, so this brings us to what to do and what not to do if you have a problem. Okay, what not to do. Again, I'm going to poke fun at myself. Don't take to the timeline and just start putting people on blast. You can see I didn't at anyone here. I wasn't like, hey, my friend Boost, I'll poke because I know Boost. So I won't, I can use him. I'll use him safely. I won't at Boost and tell him he's a terrible person. Right. And I hope he only has rain clouds for the rest of his life. Like it's not appropriate stuff to do. Um, I poked fun. That's how I felt like Squidward tentacles. I'm unable to create an up and I'm just watching everybody else post them and have fun. I was having an emotional breakdown, but we went through that already. Don't take to the timeline.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of yeah, hold all those emotions, right? That's always let things kind of settle and then kind of reevaluate. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, taking to the timeline to attack people, that's not really helpful in any way, shape, or form.
No, no, not at all.
There's proper channels for that, right?
That's right. What should you do? Go to the Discord. If you're having a problem with the browser extension, we've got this neat little video. Go under support and bugs, click on the extension link. And what you're going to find is a lot of issues that people are having, they're known about, right? This is a way to make the team aware of what's going on. You'll probably find someone else has a very similar issue or the same issue, and you can just add to the commentary on the thread and you can help the developers actually solve these problems one by one. Again, you take to the timeline, you're just yelling into the void, right? You're just
Right.
screaming into the masses, the wretched masses of X. Don't do that. Go to the proper channels, and then there you can look to find help.
Yeah, because I mean, might already be an easy solution to the problem that you're having, right? You're gonna have a much harder time finding that solution on Twitter for this specific thing, right? So if you go to the Discord in the proper channel, yeah, you might already find the solution there, right? And if not, if you found some sort of unique bug, that's good too, because we want the team to know about these things so they can just get them cleaned up.
Mm, yeah. All right. In this last section, we said don't take to the timeline. Well, some people did. And if they did, then so be it. We all fall short and we do things. I mean, that's life. That's part of the human experience, right? So what we wanted to showcase is Fabian's response to one of those tweets, right? One of those tweets that basically said, hey, this sucks. Fabian says the hard work at these standards and plugging them all, the hard work, it was these standards and plugging them all together. I'm making a little edit to make it readable. The UI is easy to fix. The complexity of this is what's not visible. And that's the whole point. Switching from testnet to mainnet is also not an easy feat, right? In time, you will understand that 90% of the functionality that the team built is going to take years to fully comprehend. If you're a developer, the realization might come faster, but if you're a non-technical person, it's going to take a long time and a lot of use cases that are going to be developed by really bright and pioneering minds for you to play with before this really starts to land for you. The imperative thing, is not the browser extension, but rather the Lego blocks that power that browser extension, that make it all possible. He says, give it some time. Nothing is perfect at the start.
No, I love that response, because that's kind of exactly what we're always trying to hint at, right? Is this greater vision for the future, right? Like kind of like Ethereum back in the day, right? You could have had a million complaints about Ethereum back in the day, but if you're trying to imagine what it was going to evolve into, it was going to you'd have a very difficult time, because they were such new concepts, right? And what we're doing here is even more. It's opening up an even bigger door for potential use cases. But what's key, and what he's talking about there, is that like the underlying infrastructure and the rails for all these things to be built on top of is what's really important, right? The UX, that's an easy fix, man. We can roll those things, fix those bugs right away, no problem. And we can have new elements that we're stacking on top of it. Those things will roll out and get shaped up in no time. But the core building blocks, those things take years, right? So the fact that those are working great and ready to go, and now we just get to start building for the future, is what's really exciting.
Yeah, also I've always come back to this one because Fabian's talking about the UI, right? The user interface. Here's a really rough cliche, but it always sticks in my head. You can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig, right? So you could
Right.
take a really hacky back end and you can make it beautiful on the front end, and it's still going to be hacky. That's not the route that LUKSO has taken. It's not a pig on the backside. It's something far. I mean, the pigs are beautiful. Let's be honest,
Yeah,
but
and they're
like,
pink. You should have used a different animal.
but it's something that is like really elegant on the backside. So if the UI is a little rough at day one of launch, it's a beta. That stuff can be cleaned up. What was the difficult part was making that elegant backside that is really kind of hidden from you.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Next up, we got a tweet from Sean. So Sean says it's live and it's out. Ups are now live and available on Lux. So try it out, play around, report issues, and feature requests on the Discord. Like we mentioned, we need the feedback. And remember that ups are just one of the many LSPs recipes, right? So he even kind of throws a little colorway on there, right? Like his LSPs is still like the potential for use cases and applications are just exponentially, infinite.
Yeah, you could say Lego bricks, which I know that John has said before, but if we're talking recipes, just look at the colors there. Think of how many more colors can be made by blending the colors, the simple
Right.
colors that are provided in that spectrum. And that's the idea. Again, just another mental model for you to kind of lens on this development. We're not talking about basic things anymore. We're talking about how to put these things together to make more and more and more combinations that improve the overall user experience of not just the blockchain, but the internet in general from a user perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's important too to, keep that forward thinking vision in mind, which actually leads us into some tweets from Fabian. So he says here, like, I want to repeat it again. We are not working for the price, but for the tech. Um, sorry, one second. But for the tech that will change the world. So it's going to be valuable. And if it brings value to the people, please stop asking for the pumping the price and the great artificial growth, right? Like, let's start to actually use it. Let's build, let the builders build. Let's see where it goes from there. Like he says, neither Bitcoin nor Ethereum ever made marketing or tried to push the price in the short term, right? And marketing up makes only sense after the first small band-aids are fixed and perfect, which I totally agree with. There's really no point in blasting out mass marketing, before people can really dive in. We're here early, right? Because we're super anxious to start getting in at the ground level and see it all built out, right? But for newbies to come in right now, like okay, cool, I made it up. Now what? Like, cool. Wait just a little bit for some dApps, right? So I think it's important. Like nothing just explodes after a launch. Like he says, also real usage brings real growth, which is really the key. And he says, dot 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 dot, mic drop, and then he catches the mic to keep going.
And Turtle brought it up. I think you said you weren't trying to, but you said Bitcoin, which made me laugh.
I said
And
Bitcoin. But it's like it made sense.
branding it. That's great. Yeah, we thought maybe Fabian fumbled the mic, but like Alt said, maybe he just like dropped it, and as it just before it hit the ground, he's like, you know what? I'm not done. Whoopsh, let me keep talking here. And he says, there's a difference between a company and a decentralized ecosystem. In a company, all value belongs to the shareholders. All of our work is done by the company. All value goes to the company. Everything is owned by the company. The value in that case are tens of millions if they are good, hundreds of millions if they are super, billions if they are a unicorn. In a decentralized ecosystem, however, all the value is distributed between all token holders. Work is done by anyone, including thousands of companies and teams at best. All the value goes to everyone. Everything is used by everyone, shared by everyone, and ideally owned by everyone. They are protocols. In that case, the value, tens of millions if they are tiny, hundreds of millions if they are starting to grow, billions if they are adopted, and be still my beating heart, trillions if they are ubiquitous. So stop complaining and start building, and wait and let the course of history take its path, because companies will eventually be replaced by protocols and ecosystems. Whew, hot take right there, huh?
Yeah, that's an epic, epic mic drop continuation. But yeah, you're talking about trillions, like, and just the concept of, I mean, really, it's like the time frame. It feels long, like we talked about and joked about, like time moves so slow inside crypto, right? Because there's so much always happening. But in the grand scheme of things, like crypto's still being adopted at twice the speed of the internet was, right? We're still really not talking about that long in the grand scheme of things, thinking about the next levels of change that we're actually going to usher in here. And Fabian had another tweet on there. He says, "But these things can't be artificially pumped or faked. They have to take time to grow," which is true, and that's why EOS and likes are not the number one blockchains, but Bitcoin and Ethereum are, because those were the ones that grew out organically and are sustainable, right? So, like it or not, good things take time. Everything else becomes meaningless in the end, right? And we kind of saw that, talking about the internet, we saw that big bubble burst, right? And only the blue chips really actually made it out. So, the importance is you to be able to survive that big bubble, you've got to have actual use case and utility, right? You can't just be a pump and dump kind of fake thing. You would just fall to the side. Just show me a single artificially pumped blockchain that is decentralized and still around and relevant. There are none.
Hmm. And that's when the mic went, mic drop. Thanks for telling us how you feel, Fabian. And honestly, I think people need to hear this, because either we're aligned from the bottom of the community to the top because we are all LUKSO fam, or we're not. It's never going to work. And now's the time to contribute wherever you can in any way that you can. So if your level of contribution is create a universal profile and just start to get involved, good. If your level of contribution is you're going to create the next great LSP that extends the color palette, then great, right? But how not to contribute to the ecosystem is to sit around and be a complainer, right? If you're just going to whine and complain, just go find somewhere else to whine and complain, because it's really not helpful, right? You can't drive a car from the back seat. It's impossible to do.
Right, right. Instead, just like put the top down and enjoy the ride. Just realize that you're not driving across the city, you're driving across country, right? It's going to be a much longer ride. Why not enjoy it? And then, like you said, I love that you said, yeah, do your part, right? Doesn't matter what it is you want to do, right? There's room for it, and it will add to the greater vision and the greater path. So whatever barrier that you have or whatever you want to contribute, do it and it will help.
Right. And there are ways for you to get involved. Don't just be a passenger, man. Don't just be a passenger. Okay. All right. Alt, you want to
Well,
talk some turkey?
let's talk Turkey. Yeah. So next week, Dev Connect in Istanbul. Ethan Lauren and I will be there along with Sage.
Oh, we're going to be going there, and we'll do what we can to give you any relevant information, news, insights, thoughts. Maybe we can corral someone for a quick conversation that we can come across, because again, we're voracious for information, and we want to make sure that our community that also has that huge appetite for news and information is a part of it as well, because even though we're there physically, we really live in the metaverse and we're all connected all the time. That's right, KEEZ worldwide. It's like prestige worldwide, but
Yeah. For keys
there's no boats
worldwide.
and less hose.
But yeah, we wanted to really focus on giving you guys, up to date content daily, throughout these events and side events and things that we go to. And as we chat with members from the team and, builders that are building in LUKSO, like to go to the build up and yeah, it's going to be fun, and we can't wait to share a bunch of content with you guys. That being said, we will still have the weekly LUKSO community spaces. What's up next week? And remember, it's a space for newbies. If you have any questions, it's a space for OGs to kind of chill, hang out. Feel free to speculate, throw around ideas. We'll be chiming in from Dev Connect in Istanbul. But yeah, come hang out and see what's up.
Absolutely. It's an open stage. It's a great spot to air these things out because if you've got something to say or you got something on your mind, you're never wrong, right? You can't be wrong. If you're feeling that, feelings aren't wrong. But there's, like we talked about on the show, there's productive ways to get those feelings out there and there's unproductive ways. So, this is a productive place for you to say what you got to say.
For sure, for sure. And I also want to take note that we did a couple of walkthrough videos here on the PPP, the Pink Pill Productions channel that you're on now. One's creating a universal profile, and another one that's connecting a universal profile to CommonGround, which, if you don't know, is like a Web3 version of Discord. So you can actually log in. We actually did a quick little video stream this morning before we got into the live stream that we were streaming directly from our universal profiles in CommonGround. Super cool stuff. So, as we have more dApps rolling out before too long, we're going to continue to be able to plug these profiles into new things and continue exploring.
You said it best, Alts. Love it.
But before we head out, though, ETH, I got a quick question for you.
All right, hit me with it.
All right. So, why did the Clydesdale give the pony a glass of water?
Sometimes I feel like I have an idea, and then sometimes I have literally no idea.
Which time is this?
This is the time I have no idea. I don't know where this is going.
Because he was a little horse. Don't you have that sound effect for the terrible? I need that sound.
Got the rim shot. Oh no, that's a crickets. You hear the crickets?
That actually is more accurate. Oh, there you go. Nice. Yeah, thanks, man. So you have a good weekend too, buddy. But yeah, we appreciate you all. Hope your Friday's going great. Thank you so much for those of you who tuned in live. We always love to see your comments hop up. And for those of you watching on your own time, we appreciate you as well. Like I said, we are all LUKSO fam. We're on this wonderful adventure together. We're at the precipice of really changing things in this space. So really just keep looking up, fam, and do what you do best and stay pink.